Welcome to Happy Crappy Paints, part 4 of the Locked Character series. If you have not unlocked this character and do not want any spoilers, skip this video. This is the Sun Keeper and how she looks when we're done. This is the paints we're using for the Sun Keeper. She's mostly covered in armor, so we're going to use Ironbreaker for most of her body and then red for the cape and of course the gold details. Assemble the paints and come back. We're going to begin with the cape, and for that we're using the contrast color Blood Angel's Red. You can see that I'm making quite a few mistakes here when I'm applying the red. It doesn't really matter much. If you do like what I do here and paint areas that you don't intend to paint, you can cover them later on with white scar and apply the color that the correct color afterwards. That's perfectly alright. Take a little more care when you are painting the cape around the face though, because there's some details that there's strands of hair that are coming down from the face and from the hair down onto the collar. That can be hard to see. Make sure you don't cover them with red. Using Ironbreaker for her armor. This color is a little bit transparent, so where there's red, like on, I can see there on the armor at her knee, the red will actually shine through. So if you find that you have spots that do shine through this color, go back and paint and cover it up with a white scar and then come back with Ironbreaker later. Ironbreaker works almost like a wash or a contrast. So I chose to use this to cheat a little bit and then skip a couple of steps of going back and highlighting and using Null Oil. It's also quite glossy, which I liked. Some of the gloss will come down after you varnish the miniature. I found it a little bit difficult sometimes to see if I covered all the areas or not. So I made a few mistakes where I had to go back with Ironbreaker and cover those areas a little bit later. I was debating for a long time whether her hands were actually armor or some other type color or skin or something. I in the end decided for simplicity's sake to just paint her hands with Ironbreaker to make it look like she has armored gloves on. I missed portions of the cape before when I used the Blood Angel's Red, so here I'm going back to paint the lower part of her cape as well. Using white scar to touch up some of the areas where I got the contrast red color. Here it's the belts that I want to paint a little bit later on. I got silver on them there. Then I got some red on the handle of the axe as well. So cleaning it up a little bit. White scar has to dry completely naturally, of course, before applying the contrast color again. So here I'm using the Blood Angels Red again for the belt. This color is a little different than the color on the artwork. You could use the Carabao Crimson wash if you'd like to be more true to the artwork. I wanted the belt to show nicely, so I used the same red as for the cape. Skeleton Horde is a contrast color that I'm experimenting with for wood for the inside of the shield. This is quite optional. You can use Snakebite Leather or some other brown if you don't have or don't want to purchase Skeleton Horde for this purpose. Starting with the gold or the gold metal, using Averland Sunset as the base color for all the gold details. Regarding her leg armor, I chose to not paint it exactly as the artwork. I thought it was a little too much gold, so I just the edges of some of the pieces on the legs. Here I also made a mistake when I did want to paint the top of the armored boots in gold. It does not look good, so I will come back to this shortly to cover it with white scar and paint it back to the silver, to the Ironbreaker color, which I thought looked better. And here I'm just adding Averland Sunset to the hammerhead as well. While the yellow is drying, I'm painting the outside of the shield in using the black contrast color. This is also optional. If you don't have this contrast color, you can just use Ashing Grey and Nuln Oil, or an even lighter grey and Nuln Oil. Moving on to her tail and face, we're using Cadian Flesh Tone as the base color. Now that the black Templar is dried, I'm touching up the edges with Averland Sunset in preparation of painting the gold metal color. I decided to try and mimic the sun cross or the sun symbol on the shield. Did not turn out well, so you can skip this completely if you're not comfortable with trying something like that. Now we're moving on to creating and shading or highlighting the cape a little bit. So Evil Sunz Scarlet is the first color that I chose to use, and as always when you're doing highlighting, you're painting a smaller and smaller surface area. So the Evil Sunz Scarlet I applied on quite a wide surface area. The next highlight color is Wild Rider Red. This I applied to a smaller surface area. You can, if you'd like, use or go orange for an even brighter highlight to the very tops, like Fire Dragon Bright or something similar. I chose not to do that. I thought this was good enough. Now that the skin tone have dried, I applied Reikland Fleshshade to all of the skin areas, so both the tail and her face. While waiting for the Reikland Fleshshade to dry, I started with the Armour. So using Auric Gold to paint everything that we previously used for Averland Sunset on. You don't have to be super careful to hit every little surface area that has Averland Sunset. You're gonna trick the eye to believe that everything yellow is gold if you're close enough with a gold metallic. As you can see, there's a chain at the top of the mantle and the neck. I chose not to paint that gold, but you certainly can if you wish. It's time to fix those ugly boots and get rid of that Averland Sunset. So I'm correcting that mistake by painting white scar to cover up the Averland Sunset. Now that Reikland Fleshshade is dried, I'm using Kislev Flash to touch up the skin and highlight the skin on the tail and on her face. I decided that the handle on the hammer was too lightly brown, so I used Snakebite Leather to make it darker. This is, of course, optional if you're happy with the lighter brown that we had before. Moving on to the hair, I wanted to try to make it lightly blue with using Druchii Violet, but that color is too strong, so I decided to dilute it with Lahmian Medium. Here I'm using a medicine dispenser for my pets, for the cats, to suck up some of the paint into a plastic cup and mixing it until I'm happy with the dilution. So I used a white piece of paper to try it out. The first time I thought it was still too dark, so I added some more Lahmian Medium, and then I found what I thought was a good transparent blend of Druchii Violet to use for her hair. If you look carefully, you can see that there's horns in her hair, and also her ears are visible if you look very carefully. I decided to not paint those in skin color. You certainly can, but I thought that those details was unnecessary to paint up, but that's certainly something that you can do if you'd like. Ironbreaker to fix the boots. using Abaddon Black for the eyes and the base of the model. As usual, my minis turn out a little cross-eyed, so I'm using Kislev Flash to touch up the underside of the eye to make the black a little smaller and look a little better. And that was that. This is the Sunkeeper. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.